Thanks for joining us. We're learning more tonight about two women killed in Toronto, their neighbors expressing shock as police surrounded their home yesterday afternoon. Officers continue to search for a suspect tonight who they say is related to the women. Anam Khan spent the day in the neighborhood and has our story.
A serene-looking home gilded with butterflies. But what happened inside the home has left neighbors shaken.
I assumed everything was okay.
But it wasn't. Police say two women were found dead in this home Friday after a relative of the women called in for a safety check.
Officers responded to the area and attended a home where they located two females suffering from injuries. Unfortunately, those females were beyond help.
Police are so far not releasing their names or ages, saying they're still notifying next of kin. Now they're looking for this man, 33-year-old Joseph Ayala, wanted for second-degree murder. Neighbors here speak very highly of the residents that lived in this home. They say they were very kind and loving, and they say it was a grandma in her 80s that lived here for decades. It was her and her daughter, and they believe the suspect is her grandson. This woman, who often visits her mother in the neighborhood, says she has seen the suspect around and he was living inside the house.
A little strange, but not bad. He'd say hello, and then off he'd go, not even bother talking or nothing.
This neighbor says she saw the suspect yesterday morning before the incident took place in the exact description provided by police.
I saw this character that looked out of normal for our neighborhood. I recognized the hat. He had a cowboy hat on, a fringed jacket. He had a backpack.
Police say Ayala is considered dangerous and should not be approached, causing fear among neighbors.
Now it concerns me if he's not been found, that he's in somebody's garden shed and he'll still show up, so we'll keep our doors locked.
The concern goes beyond this street.
We're not seeing the change that we really need to see to keep, for communities to be safe.
A report from this woman's advocacy group shows that femicide cases have been going up in the province since the pandemic, with over 50 recorded cases each year across all ages. She says there are 42 deaths already recorded since this past November. That doesn't include the two women in Etobicoke on Friday. Each death leaving a lasting impact in families and communities. Robinson still trying to process the incident, which has brought her to tears.
I'm looking for her outside on her chair. She's supposed to be out there, but she's not out there.
Anam Khan, CBC News, Toronto.
One of the big stories this week, the province announcing plans to shut down supervised injection sites where schools or daycares are nearby. Now CBC News is learning that some shelters could also be impacted. As Brittany Billette shows us, while some welcome the move, advocates say the decision could have deadly consequences.
This supervised consumption site within a Toronto shelter could be shut down in less than a year. It's located just across the street from a school and a daycare center.
As a father, I would not want to have my daughter seeing somebody overdosing.
The shelter worker worries about what will happen if the site closes.
What that might result in is, instead of having a safe place to use substances, people might be overdosing outside on the streets or in public spaces because there isn't a safe place for them to actually use, where somebody can respond with the proper medical equipment to save their lives as well.
On Tuesday, the province announced it would seek a ban on supervised consumption sites within 200 meters of a school or daycare, saying the status quo isn't working.
Parents are worried about discarded needles that their children could pick up. Some parents no longer feel comfortable sending their children to the local elementary school or have pulled them out of their local daycare.
That means at least 10 supervised consumption sites would close across the province, but CBC has since learned that shelters with those same services would also need to shut down their units. Advocates say if that happens, it will only make things worse.
The emergency rooms may be inundated because people have nowhere to go. So it really is a perfect storm in my mind. It's a crisis that's looming.
We're, again, misdiagnosing and misreading the problem here, and we will leave people to die as a result of it.
The move follows two government-ordered reviews in the wake of a Toronto woman's killing. Carolina Hubner-Macarat was killed by a stray bullet from a shootout near one of the sites.
This has never been about just NIMBY it out of here. This is lack of oversight and a lack of running this program and this service properly or in the right location.
But experts say the reports don't say the sites should close.
And if we even read the report from South Riverdale, for example, we've seen that experts are saying it is a bad idea, terrible idea, egregious idea to actually shut down these sites. And instead, we need to look at these different safety concerns if that's what the issue is, which we could be doing.
For Potvin, while he welcomes the government's pledge to create more treatment services, he says the approach shouldn't be either or.
I see it as two sides to one coin. You need to have harm reduction approaches to keep people alive so that in the future, while working with them, they can get access to those addictions and mental health programs as well.
The province says it wants to see safe consumption sites near schools and daycares closed by March 2025, but it adds that affected centers could become treatment hubs if it submits an application. Brittany Billette, CBC News, Toronto.
A major development is expected any moment. A Labour board is set to rule on the federal government's decision to intervene in a dispute between Canada's two major rail companies and its more than 9,000 workers. Philip Lishanek is tracking this one for us tonight. He has the latest.
Workers on this farm west of Winnipeg are making hay while the sun is shining. Besides the weather is another element out of their control. The stop-start of the railway labor dispute being felt across Canada.
For the railways and the workers to hold the whole country hostage is, I have no words for that. It's catastrophic, it is not right, and it affects everyone.
That's no exaggeration. Between them, Canadian National and Canadian Pacific Kansas City, Canada's two major freight railroads, move more than $400 billion in goods a year coast to coast and all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, trade that's estimated to be worth $1 billion a day. It all came to a halt on Thursday with a lockout forcing Ottawa to step in and send workers and companies to binding arbitration. Now producers hope this decision from Canada's Industrial Relations Board will get the trains moving again.
Our cash flow was stopped, and I was so excited a couple days ago when they were putting going to a third-party arbitrator to get the rail moving again, and then have it stopped. Or it hasn't started again, but to have it continue has just been devastating.
The Teamsters Union is contesting the government's authority to impose binding arbitration and have issued a strike notice that takes effect Monday morning. Some critics say with transporting goods and people across such a vast country so critical to the national economy, the federal government should take steps to prevent labor disputes from crippling trade.
Legislate that they're essential services, and if people say no, they're not, well, then let's bear the consequences of a strike and have the enormous, catastrophic consequences on communities across Canada.
He says that there are rulings by the top court that deeming workers essential is not a violation of collective bargaining, since not everyone has the right to strike. Meanwhile, across the country, farmers racing to get their harvest to market are wondering when rail service will be back on track. Philip Lishanek, CBC News, Toronto.
Sophia joining us now for our first look at the forecast. A gorgeous August day out there.
Yeah, I call it a Goldilocks day. Not too hot, not too cold, plenty of sunshine, enough to keep everybody really happy. And if you like this, you're really gonna like this next week ahead. In fact, this is a really important forecast, folks. It's the last week of summer vacation. And if you're looking forward to your pumpkin spice lattes and your sweaters come Labor Day weekend and beyond, you have another thing coming, because the heat is really going to get turned on. In fact, let's break the rules here and show the long range forecast a little bit early, because if this happened to be the week that you got stuck with for your summer vacation and holiday plans, you really lucked out. It's a fantastic 7-day forecast, one of the best we've seen all summer long. Plenty of hours of sunshine throughout the entirety of the week, and some really good vibes if you're headed out to any of the festivities or to the X. But watch Monday into Tuesday as that humidity will really creep up. We'll talk more about this in the long range. Southerly Gulf moisture will make the feels like values for the first half of this work week feel into the mid-30s. In fact, all that Gulf moisture will pool, getting blocked by this big upper level high until a cold front comes in Tuesday into Wednesday, knocking us back down to earth and back down to seasonal. Now coming up, We'll talk about some of the non-severe storm risks in the short-range forecast as well, both for today and for tomorrow. But really, you're pretty easy breezy as far as active weather and the long-range forecast goes, Shannon.
Heading into a heat wave. Okay, thanks, Sophia. We'll see you shortly.
Sounds good.
Turning to some international stories next, Gaza ceasefire talks have resumed in Cairo. A Hamas delegation is there to review any new proposals. Today, though, no signs of any breakthroughs. Gaza officials said Israeli strikes today killed at least 50 people. Reports say some of the dead from 2 days ago remain on the roadsides. In one of northern Gaza's historic refugee camps, people lined up for food aid. UN officials yesterday said the amount of food getting into Gaza is at one of its lowest levels since last October. Acute malnutrition has quadrupled since May. A car exploded outside a synagogue in southern France. Officials are calling it a terrorist attack. Police say 2 cars were set on fire, injuring an officer. The Prime Minister is denouncing the incident as anti-Semitism. In Italy, a manslaughter investigation is now open into that deadly sinking of a super yacht. Divers recovered all 7 killed. It was hit by a sudden storm, but the local prosecutor says there may have been acts of negligence that could merit manslaughter charges. Experts say the yacht should have withstood the storm and stayed afloat longer than it did. Big news from NASA tonight. It says it's too risky for a couple of astronauts to return home to Earth, so instead, they will stay in space for at least another 6 months. Katie Nicholson tells us why.
And liftoff of Starliner and Atlas V. It was supposed to be an 8-day mission for astronauts Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore, but it's about to turn into 8 months.
NASA has decided that Butch and Sonny will return with Crew 9 next February.
NASA has now decided to keep the 2 on the International Space Station until they can hitch a ride home with a SpaceX crew in February. Wilmore and Williams have been stuck on the station ever since the Boeing Starliner that carried them there had thruster issues.
Starliner will return uncrewed.
NASA and Boeing are confident they can bring the ship back to Earth intact, but this is still a blow to the Starliner.
This is a black eye for Boeing, obviously, even though it is a test flight officially, but it's not a good look for the company.
Despite that, don't expect NASA to ditch Boeing, says this aeronautics professor.
By not continuing the Starliner program, basically SpaceX would become a monopolist when it comes to bringing crew up and down the ISS. And that's probably not desirable. And so I do have confidence that despite all the challenges, that the Starliner program will continue.
And then there's Wilmore and Williams. Both astronauts are in support of the decision to stay, and they'll be busy.
They'll be doing science, station maintenance. They'll execute the SpaceX 31 research and cargo mission, and we may have a couple spacewalks for them.
Back on Earth, Wilmore's wife signaled last month she's taking it all in stride.
You just sort of have to roll with it, and you sort of expect the unexpected.
And now the astronauts' families and friends can expect to wait a lot longer for a safe return. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Washington.
We are only 4 days away to the start of the Paris Paralympics, and today the torch relay got underway. The flame was lit next to the English hospital where the idea of the Paralympics was born. More than 4,000 athletes will compete in more than 500 events. CBC is your home for the Paris Paralympics. The opening ceremony goes on Wednesday. A fan favorite is back this weekend as thousands come dressed in their very best for Fan Expo. The convention is a celebration of pop culture, from comics to sci-fi and anime, plus so much more. Senior entertainment reporter Eli Glasner is there for us in full costume, of course.
Well, it is that time again. Fan Expo is back here in Toronto. This is the largest fan convention of its kind in Canada. Now, you might be wondering, Eli, what are you wearing? I wasn't in the Star Wars universe. I am dressed as Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic from the upcoming, soon-to-be-made Marvel Fantastic Four movie. Now, maybe into Marvel, maybe you're into Sailor Moon, maybe you need tips on designing the wig for your favorite costume. Whatever your interest is, you can find it here in a booth, in a room, on a panel. And there's actually a very timely screening that will be happening this weekend with a big-name actor.
Yeah, great to have Helen Hunt with us and for her to be presenting Twister, which is really cool. I think we're doing a never-ending story sort of viewing as well, which is really great. So again, something for everyone and all ages as well.
Now, look around, you're going to see the faces of Cate Blanchett, Jamie Lee Curtis. You're going to see massive activations from all these huge companies. You also have a chance to meet some of your favorite stars. Marissa Tomei is here. Danny Trejo is here. It's surprising what he actually gets from the experience.
It's all over. I can go eat in like 40 different countries at somebody's house. Yeah. You know, because I made a friend everywhere, and it's just so unbelievable when somebody's talking about Uruguay. I'm like, oh no, I've been there. And it's like, it reminds me of the smart kids in school that used to take vacations.
But look around and you'll see, for many, the best part is not just being a fan, but becoming one of your favorite characters.
To be in an environment like Fan Expo and to celebrate cosplay all around is just so beautiful.
I'm Batman.
Jason Todd.
Dick Grayson.
Hey, was this like a group effort? How did you decide to do all of it?
We love Batman, so we said, you know what? We gotta go as the Bat family, represent out here.
So for me, it's I like becoming the character, because then it makes me feel a little larger than life. Because my regular personality is not this big, baby.
Right. Fan Expo and all this beautiful madness runs until Sunday. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
All right, Keanu Reeves may not be a young blood anymore, but this week he got to realize a childhood dream of joining a junior hockey team in Windsor. The Matrix star signed a one-day contract with the Windsor Spitfires. Reeves tried out for the team as a teen, but an injury cut his hockey career short. The team will auction off all the items he signed. All proceeds will go to the Canadian Mental Health Association. We're heading into a quick break. Sophia is back with your steamy forecast next. You've probably heard of pothole blitzes if you live in Toronto or Ottawa, but today the City of Toronto shifted its focus, hosting its first ever sidewalk maintenance blitz. Around 114 staff members got to work bright and early to do as many repairs and 311 service requests as possible. Staff also did inspections to identify damage and other hazards to pedestrians on Toronto sidewalks. If your Sunday plans are taking you on Line 2 on the TTC, a heads up. Subway service between St. George and Broadview stations will start by 10 a.m. on Sunday. That's due to planned track work. Shuttle buses are running instead. Just a sample of the annual celebration of the vibrant colors, rhythms, and of course the flavors of Grenada at Coronation Park. The community is marking 50 years since the country's independence. Around 65,000 Canadians trace their heritage to Grenada. Dwight Drummond spoke to the event's co-founder, Maria Myers, about sharing the culture of the Spice Island.
We're referred to as a Spice Island because of our wonderful spices that we have. Prior to Hurricane Ivan, we were #1 exporting of nutmeg and wonderful other spices.
You got cloves,
cloves.
cinnamon.
Oh yes, we're known for all that, and we still have those wonderful spices in there. It's an island full of spices.
What is this reputation that Grenadians have for being maybe the nicest island in the Caribbean as far as the people go?
No, it's not it's a true thing. It is a true thing. You come to Grenada and the warmth welcome that you get, the directions, the guidance from everybody. If you're lost, oh, you're here. It could be 12 o'clock in the day till 12 midnight. It doesn't matter. Grenadians are coming to offer you their assistance, making sure that you get there on time. They go out of their way to make sure that everything is fine with you.
All these Grenadian Canadians come out and share their culture with their friends.
Exactly. And this is why the festival goes on, to put together, to maintain the culture and heritage of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique.
Sophia's back talking about the last week of summer vacation. I was thinking of bringing that up, and then I thought, is that depressing? But it turns out the forecast is pretty good.
Yeah, summer's going to go out with a bang, some spicy weather. You can say it might feel like the islands over the next couple days. Enjoy like a really beautiful Sunday before the heat gets turned up Monday and Tuesday. In fact, you will need your shorts and t-shirts as you head back to school as well. Summer is not done with us yet. And have a look at Sunday. Anybody in the GTA and in cottage country really in the icing of the Oreo, so to speak. Chance of some slight storm activity, southwestern Ontario and into eastern Ontario. A cold front into the east and some lake breeze convergence into the southwest. If you do have a storm come through your neck of the wood on either bookend of southern Ontario, you could have some heavy rainfall and some small hail. But really, it's going to be a nice end of the weekend until we mentioned that humidity really pooling in come Monday and Tuesday, blocked by that upper level high. Could have some storms come in Tuesday overnight into Wednesday. Might not impact much of your holiday daytime forecast, but it could bring a little bit of wet weather early Wednesday. Feels like values for the first half of this work week will be into the mid-30s. Some of you will feel into the 40s for multiple days this upcoming work week. It is certainly too early for the pumpkin spice lattes, but really glorious sunshine for this upcoming week ahead. The heat will stick with us into and after Labor Day weekend. Again, there's that chance for some storm activity right now, early Wednesday, but it could be really dependent on when that cold front comes through your neck of the woods. Enjoy the last stretch, make the most of it, but you could enjoy the shorts for a little bit longer is the name of the game, Shannon.
The 37s. I cannot believe we're seeing those numbers.
Yep. 37s, 42 in Windsor.
Oh my goodness. Okay, thanks, Sophia.
You're welcome.
That's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. We're going to leave you now with some sights from the Yorkville Murals Festival. It's celebrating its 6th year, transforming Yorkville into a showcase of art. If you haven't had a chance to swing by, the event runs through Sunday. We'll see you soon.